There are moments in life when the path you're meant to walk cannot be shared with anyone else. Not because people don't care, not because you aren't loved, but because your soul is being shaped in silence. When you walk alone, it can feel like isolation, but spiritually it's activation. The universe removes noise so you can finally hear your own inner guidance. It pulls you away from what distracts you so you can rediscover what strengthens you. Walking alone is not a punishment, it's preparation. It's the universe clearing the space around you so you can grow without interference. It's the moment when life steps back from you physically but moves closer to you spiritually. Every step you take in solitude is supported by a force much larger than anything you can see. You are never truly alone. You are simply being realigned. Loneliness is often the first sign that you're entering a new chapter. The universe cuts ties that drain you, closes doors that limit you, and removes people who cannot grow with you. At first it feels like everything is falling apart, but look deeper. Your life isn't collapsing, it's reorganizing. What looks like loss is actually protection. What feels like emptiness is the clearing needed for expansion. When you walk alone, you meet the version of yourself that you've ignored for far too long. You begin to hear your intuition again. You start trusting your own decisions. You reconnect with the parts of you that were buried under expectations and noise. This is where your power returns, silently, slowly, and undeniably. And as you move forward with a quieter heart and clearer vision, something profound happens. The universe begins to place the right opportunities in your path, the right people, the right healing, the right breakthroughs. Solitude becomes the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Your steps may be quiet, but your transformation is loud. Remember this: walking alone is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your awakening. The universe walks with you, even when no one else does, and when the time is right, the world that was once too small for your spirit will finally expand to match your purpose. Solitude is spiritual preparation because it strips away everything that distracts you from who you truly are. When you are surrounded by constant noise, constant expectations, and constant comparisons, your inner voice becomes faint. You begin to live according to the world instead of your own soul. But when life pulls you into solitude, something powerful happens. You are placed in an environment where there is nothing left to hide behind. The masks fall away, the roles you've played for others fade, and for the first time in a long time, you are left alone with your truth. Solitude forces you to meet yourself honestly. It brings to the surface the emotions you've buried, the wounds you've ignored, and the dreams you've postponed. It reveals the parts of you that need healing and the parts of you that are waiting to grow. This is why many people fear being alone, because solitude exposes what noise helps them avoid. But this exposure is not punishment. It is the beginning of transformation. When everything external goes quiet, your spirit becomes louder. You begin to hear your intuition with clarity, and you start recognizing what you truly want, not what you've been conditioned to chase. But beyond in solitude, your inner world reorganizes itself. The chaos you once carried starts to settle. The emotions you once suppressed rise to the surface so they can finally be released. There is a cleansing that happens when you sit with your own thoughts without distractions. You begin to understand your patterns, your fears, your strengths, and your boundaries. You start reclaiming the energy you've scattered across people and situations that were never aligned with your purpose. Solitude becomes the space where your spirit detoxes from everything that has drained you. This season of being alone also rebuilds your confidence. When you walk through life constantly surrounded by others, you sometimes forget how capable you are on your own. Solitude reminds you. It shows you that you can survive without relying on external validation, that your strength comes from within, not from the approval of those around you. You begin to move with a deeper sense of self-trust. Your decisions become clearer. Your emotions become steadier. Your connection to your own soul becomes unbreakable. As you sit in that quiet space, your spirit starts preparing you for what comes next. New insights appear, new clarity forms. You begin to feel shifts inside you that you cannot yet explain. Old attachments loosen, old identities dissolve, old fears lose power. It is in this loneliness that you evolve into someone who is ready for a bigger life. Solitude sharpens you, strengthens you, and aligns you. It's where the universe whispers guidance that you could not hear before. Even though it feels like nothing is happening, everything is happening. You are being reshaped, reordered, and renewed from the inside out, preparing you to step into a chapter that requires a stronger, clearer, and more awakened version of you. Walking alone reconnects you with your intuition because it removes the external voices that constantly pull you away from your inner truth. In the presence of others, even those you love, you unconsciously absorb their expectations, their fears, their opinions, and their interpretations of life. Over time, those voices become louder than your own. You start doubting your instincts, questioning your choices, and relying on outside approval to decide what feels right. But when you walk alone, the noise fades, the world becomes quieter, and in that stillness, our intuition begins to rise again, softly guiding you back to yourself. When you walk alone, you are no longer pushed by the pace of society or pressured by the desires of others. You move at the rhythm of your own spirit. You start noticing the subtle feelings, the internal nudges, the small signals that your intuition sends. These signals were always there, but they were drowned out by the chaos around you. Solitude amplifies them. It allows you to listen without interruption. And the more you listen, the more you remember that your intuition has always been your most trustworthy compass. Being alone also frees you from emotional interference. You are not influenced by the moods, opinions, or fears of others. You are not trying to please anyone or fit into any version of yourself that doesn't feel authentic. This emotional freedom is what allows your inner wisdom to flow again. Your intuition thrives in honesty, in clarity, in silence. When you remove everything that doesn't belong to you, what remains is the pure voice of your deeper self. The voice that knows what you need, where you're going, and what you must release. Walking alone forces you to rely on your own guidance. Without someone to tell you what to do, you begin making decisions based on what feels aligned rather than what looks logical to others. You start recognizing the moments when something feels wrong, even if you can't explain why. You start noticing the pull toward what feels right, even if it doesn't make sense yet. This is the language of intuition, and every time you trust it, it becomes stronger. Every time you follow it, it becomes clearer. The reconnection that happens in solitude is not just mental, it is spiritual. You begin to feel a deeper sense of knowing, a sense that your life is guided from within rather than controlled from the outside. You start understanding that intuition is not just a feeling, it is the voice of your deeper intelligence, your inner compass, your connection to something larger than your physical self. And as you strengthen this connection, you also strengthen your confidence. You stop seeking validation. You stop doubting your path. You stop betraying yourself to fit into places that don't support your growth. Walking alone becomes a sacred journey back to your inner truth. It reconnects you with the part of you that always knew the way, even when the world made you forget. And once you rediscover that inner voice, you begin moving through life with a clarity and certainty that no external opinion can ever replace. The universe removes people and situations because growth cannot happen in environments that keep you small. Life has a way of shifting things around you the moment you begin shifting within yourself. Sometimes this happens gently, and sometimes it happens in ways that feel sudden, painful, or confusing. But every removal carries intention. When people fall away, when relationships fade, when opportunities collapse, it is rarely a sign of failure. It is a silent form of protection, a redirection towards something that aligns more deeply with who you are becoming. The universe does not take anything from you unless it is clearing space for something greater. When your spirit begins to evolve, you outgrow certain energies without even realizing it. The conversations that once excited you begin to feel draining. The environments you once tolerated start to feel heavy. The connections you once chased no longer feel aligned. You may not consciously choose to distance yourself, but you will feel the shift, and those shifts create natural separation. People who cannot walk with you into your next chapter quietly drift out of your life. It may feel like abandonment, but spiritually it is alignment. The universe is filtering your path, removing anything that cannot support the person you are becoming. Situations also fall apart for the same reason. Jobs end, opportunities collapse, plans fail, and old dreams lose their grip on you. At first it feels like chaos. You may question why things didn't work out the way you imagined, but if you look closely, you will notice that most endings were necessary. Some environments restrict your growth, some opportunities limit your potential, some paths lead away from your purpose. The universe removes these situations not to punish you, but to protect you from staying somewhere your spirit no longer belongs. It knows what your mind does not yet see. These removals also create emotional and energetic space. When your life is filled with the wrong people and situations, there is no room for the right ones to enter. The universe cannot send you new blessings until you release what blocks them. It cannot align you with your future while you remain tangled in your past. So it begins the process for you. It breaks connections that drain you. It closes doors that distract you. It dissolves attachments that keep you stagnant. Even when you resist, even when you cling, change arrives anyway, because the universe is committed to your evolution, not your comfort. And as painful as these shifts can be, they are always followed by clarity. Once the wrong people leave your life, you feel lighter. Once the wrong situations end, you breathe easier. Once the wrong paths close, you notice a deeper sense of direction rising within you. What once felt like loss begins to feel like liberation. You start to understand that nothing real is ever taken from you. Only what was restricting your growth is removed. And in that empty space, new connections, opportunities, and experiences begin to form, ones that match the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. What feels like loss is often divine protection, because life sees the dangers, the limitations, and the hidden truths long before you do. When something or someone is removed from your path, the first emotion you feel is pain. You interpret it as rejection, failure, or abandonment. You wonder what you did wrong or why the timing feels so cruel. But losses are not random. They are precise. They happen exactly when they need to happen, even if you cannot yet understand their purpose. The universe has a way of stepping in when you refuse to walk away from what was never meant to stay. Many of the things you hold on to are rooted in comfort, familiarity, or attachment, not alignment. You cling to relationships because they feel safe, not because they help you grow. You stay in situations that drain you because they are predictable. You hold on to dreams that belonged to a past version of you, and while your heart tries to move forward, your attachments pull you backward. This is when the universe intervenes. It begins removing what restricts you, even if your mind fights the process. What feels like your life falling apart is often your life being rebuilt in a way you will one day thank. Loss also has a way of revealing truth. When someone leaves your life, you start to see their intentions clearly. When an opportunity collapses, you understand how limited it actually was. When a path closes, you realize it was never meant to carry you to the future you've been preparing for. Divine protection doesn't always look like shields or signs. Sometimes it looks like endings you didn't want, because those endings stop you from settling for less than what you deserve. They prevent you from investing your heart, your time, and your energy into something that cannot grow with you. There are moments when the universe removes something because you are ready for more, even if you feel unprepared. You may think a certain relationship was your forever, but life knew it would only hold you back. You may think a job was your only stable path, but life knew it was limiting your potential. You may think a dream was your purpose, but life knew something greater was calling you. Protection often disguises itself as loss, because if you understood the bigger plan too early, you would cling to what needs to be released. What hurts today often becomes the turning point that elevates your entire journey. Loss forces you to grow in ways comfort never could. It pushes you into new environments, new opportunities, and new versions of yourself. It clears the space around you so that something more aligned, more meaningful and more fulfilling can take its place. You may not see the blessing immediately. Transformation rarely announces itself. But one day, looking back, you will notice that the things you cried over were the same things that shaped your strength, awakened your clarity, and positioned you for your breakthrough. The universe does not take anything that is meant for you. It only removes what blocks your path, protects your spirit, or limits your destiny. What feels like loss is often the first step toward something far greater than you imagined. Your true strength and identity reveal themselves in silence, because silence removes every layer of noise that convinces you to be someone you're not. When life becomes quiet, when distractions fade, and when you are left alone with nothing but your own breath and thoughts, you meet the most honest version of yourself. You meet the parts of you that have been muted by expectations, overshadowed by responsibility, and buried under the weight of who others needed you to be. Silence strips you down to your essence. It allows your spirit to rise without interference, revealing truths about who you are that the world often pressures you to ignore. In silence, you begin to see the difference between your real desires and the desires you inherited from others. You notice the dreams that never belonged to you, the roles you adopted to please people, and the identities you wore to survive. Without outside influence, you can finally hear your own mind, feel your own emotions, and understand your own needs. This clarity is the birthplace of authentic identity. It is in the quiet moments that you realize what kind of life you truly want to live, and what kind of person you genuinely are beneath all the layers you've accumulated over the years. Silence also reveals your strength in ways chaos never can. When everything is loud, it's easy to distract yourself from your fears, your wounds, or your insecurities. But when the world goes quiet, you must face the parts of yourself that you've avoided. You confront your pain, your regrets, your doubts, and your vulnerabilities, and in doing so, you discover that you are far more resilient than you ever believed. Strength isn't built in noise, it's discovered in stillness. It's in the quiet where you learn to sit with discomfort, breathe through uncertainty, and trust yourself even when you don't have all the answers. In these silent spaces, your intuition grows sharper. You begin to feel the difference between what drains you and what nourishes you. You recognize who you are when you are not performing, impressing, or proving anything to anyone. You understand what kind of energy you want in your life, and what kind of energy you can no longer tolerate. This self-awareness becomes a form of strength, an internal compass that keeps you grounded even when the world around you is shifting. As you spend more time in silence, you also uncover the parts of you that have been waiting to be expressed. Creativity emerges, insight deepens, wisdom awakens. You begin to see how capable you are of standing on your own, how powerful your presence is without validation, and how much potential you carry that was hidden beneath constant movement. The quiet teaches that you don't need noise to feel important, and you don't need attention to feel valuable. You are enough even when no one is watching. But silence becomes the mirror that reflects your true self back to you. It shows you your depth, your patience, your courage, and your capacity to endure and evolve. It is in these still moments that your identity strengthens and your inner power becomes undeniable. Ultimately, silence doesn't just reveal who you are, it reintroduces you to the person you were always meant to be. Once you align with yourself, the universe aligns opportunities because your inner world becomes a clear signal that draws in what resonates with your true path. When you finally stop fighting who you are, when you release the expectations that never belong to you, and when you step into the version of yourself that feels authentic, everything around you begins to shift. You stop chasing things that drain you and start attracting things that match your energy. Alignment is not about perfection. It is about honesty. When your thoughts, actions, values, and desires move in the same direction, life responds with remarkable precision. True alignment begins internally. It starts with acknowledging what you feel, what you want, what you fear, and what you cannot deny any longer. When you honor your intuition instead of silencing it, you create coherence within yourself, and that coherence becomes a powerful force. Suddenly decisions become clearer, boundaries become stronger, your energy becomes more focused. You begin saying no to what is not meant for you, and yes to what feels aligned. This shift sends a message to the universe. You are ready for the opportunities that reflect your true identity. As you align internally, your external world begins to reorganize. People who resonate with your growth come closer. Situations that support your purpose appear without force. Paths that once felt blocked begin to open. This is not coincidence, it is resonance. When your inner frequency rises, you attract experiences that vibrate at the same level. The opportunities that once seemed distant become natural, almost effortless. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you receive. You no longer doubt, you trust the timing that unfolds. Alignment also strengthens your clarity. When you are aligned with yourself, you no longer question whether something is meant for you. You feel it. You recognize the difference between distraction and direction. You can sense when something is rooted in fear or rooted in purpose. This clarity protects you from settling for less than what your spirit is calling you toward. It guides you toward opportunities that expand you and away from those that confine you. And with every aligned choice you make, the universe responds with a new doorway, a new connection, a new possibility. This process is subtle at first.